Give me a good minute, and I'm going to set this up. I'm going to go ahead and go into this prophecy of Daniel's second chapter real quick. Let me go ahead and pull up the statue. Go ahead and get this popping and rolling. Let's get this popping and rolling real quick. Let's see. Let's see. Let me go ahead and just popping and rolling real quick. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna go ahead and go in on this subject. Let's go right here. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and do this. First and foremost, want to say, HALAL, YAHAWAH, SHAM, YAHAWASH. All right. This is right, everyone. God. This is ZOI, Zealots of Israel Church Congregation. And today, for this topic, I'm going to go into, for this topic, I'm going to go ahead and go into the book of Daniel, the second chapter. Shalom, Amaziah, I see you. Go ahead and go into the book of Daniel's second chapter, and deal with the 10 toe, or deal with the statue that Nebuchadnezzar saw. All right, the heathen king of Babylon, right? Because the Lord gave him a particular vision. All right, and let's go ahead and share the screen. Give me one quick second. And call Allah Yahweh, Sham, Yahawashi. All right, to the Most High through the name of the Son. All right, if I didn't do that already, but let's go ahead and pull out the statue. Okay. Let's see, which one should I pull out that? All right, this is a good one. All right. So let's go ahead and put the screen up here. Share the screen. Voila. All right. So let's do this. So this is the statue of Nebuchadnezzar, all right? That Nebuchadnezzar's dream, all right? And you deal with the statue. Goes from gold, silver, bronze, iron, and of course the iron mixed with clay. Okay. So it talks about the four kingdoms and the divided kingdoms. That's the extension of the Roman Empire. All right. Or extension of the clay, or extension of the iron, excuse me. Okay. She's using this as a backdrop pictorially. All right. So, with that being said, let's go ahead let's go ahead and let's hide this. Let's go ahead and go into this breakdown. Let's go ahead and go to Daniel, second chapter. All right, and we're going to go through this as we go on. I'm going to use certain pictures to best illustrate this breakdown and this understanding. So, and let's see how long. Yeah, we're going to eat the whole meat off the roll. All right. Eat the whole meat off this bone, I should say. So the book of Daniel, chapters 2, verse 1, and in the year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams, okay, wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him. Verse 2, then the king commanded to call the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans, for to shew the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. So this is all their enchanters, their magicians, their astrologers, people that study the stars and whatnot, the sorcerers, all right, people that conjure up certain things, magic, dealing with witchcraft, Chaldeans, who are would be the magi priest of I would say the high priest of what we know as the Babylonians, right? So they all came and tried to break down this dream, right? Now let's continue on, verse 2. And the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. Then spake the Chaldeans to the king Syriac, O king, live forever. Tell thy servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation. The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, the thing is gone from me. If you will not make known unto me the dream with the interpretation thereof, ye shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill. But if ye show the dream and the interpretation thereof, ye shall receive of me gifts and rewards and great honor. Therefore show me the dream and the interpretation thereof. Okay, so he's basically in a roundabout way threatening, but also to giving him an ultimatum of risk. It's the highest stake of risk and reward. Either you're going to break down the dream or you're going to die breaking it down wrong. All right. So it's halfway, in one way in particular. Okay. So continuing on, verse 7, they answered again and said, let the king tell his servants the dream, and he will show the interpretation thereof. The king answered and said, I know of certainty that ye would gain the time, because ye see the thing is gone from me. But if I will not make known unto the dream, there is one decree for you. For ye have prepared lying and corrupt words to speak before me, till the time be changed. Therefore tell me the dream, and I shall know that ye can show me the interpretation thereof. All right, so he's basically breaking down, look, you need to show whoever can show me this dream, the improper interpretation thereof, I'll give them all riches and honor, right? But if you don't, you're going to be chopping to pieces, basically. He's just reiterating this from the previous verses. Daniel's 2:10. Daniel 2:10. The Chaldeans answered before the king and said, there is not a man upon the earth that can show the king this king's matter. Therefore there is no king, lord, nor ruler that acts such things at any magician or astrologer or Chaldean. And it is a rare thing that the king requireth, and there is none other that can show it before the king, except the God whose dwelling is not with flesh. Okay. So basically they're saying only the gods, and that's from their paganistic standpoint, their gods can be the only ones that can show their king, or any king for that matter, this understanding of this interpretation of this dream, right? So that being said, let's continue on. Verse 12, for this cause the king was angry and very furious and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. Right, so none of the people can call upon the proper interpretation of this dream. All the magicians, the sorcerers, the Chaldeans, so on and so forth, the astrologers, they could not do it. So he said he was going to destroy all the wise men of Babylon, basically. Their sorcerers on the left-hand side, all right? Verse 13, and the decree went forth that the wise men should be slain, and they sought Daniel, his fellow, to be slain. Then Daniel answered with counsel and wisdom to Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, which was gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, why is the decree so hasty from the king when... And then Arioch made the thing known to Daniel. Then Daniel went in and desired the king that he would give him time and that he would show the king the interpretation. Then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, that they would desire the mercies of God, of the God of heaven concerning the secret, that Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. All right. So this is Daniel. All right. Basically, stepping up to the plate. And the main reason why he's stepping up to the plate is because the Lord was with him. The Lord dwelt with Daniel during this time to break down interpretations of future events and prophecies that have already taken place and are still in process of being completed. All right. When you go into the different books of Daniel. And I'm going to go through these books of Daniel, as time goes on. Daniel's 2, 7, 8, 10, 11. These things got to be broken down so you can understand these breakdowns, all right? And how beautifully how beautifully put together the Lord put these prophecies and allowed this man to break these down during his time, all right? Which would constitute that he was dealing with Daniel, all right, from the very beginning, all right, as a prophet. Verse 19, then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. Daniel answered and said, blessed be the name of God, forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his, all right. And the God of heaven, all right, is YAHAWAH, okay? He's the power of heaven and earth and this whole realm that we live in, the universe as we call it, all right? Verse 21, and he changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth the kings instead of kings. He giveth wisdom unto wise and knowledge to them that know understanding. So basically, when you break down this verse, the Lord gives all wisdom to all men. All right. Okay. And understandings to the certain men. And he deals secretly with his servants, the prophets. All right. Actually, with that being said, right, because this is a dream that frightened him. So let's go ahead and go into that. All right. Let's go ahead and go into that. Okay. He spake in his mouth to his servants, the prophets, right? Let me just go ahead and go there. Give me 1 second. See, what is it? Amos. Oh man, which scripture? Servants to prophets. I think that's 7. Amos 7. Yeah, let me look through this real quick. Okay, so let's see. Service. Let me just type that in. Uh, okay, Amos, the 3rd chapter. I was thinking about an entirely different scripture. So Amos 3 and 6. Shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in a city, and the Lord have not done it? Right. So the Most High controls both good and evil. We all know this, right? Verse 37. Verse 7. Surely the Lord will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets. But he revealeth his secrets unto his servants, the prophets. So he revealeth his secrets to the prophets that he have had since the world began. All right. That he's always dealt with since the world began. Let's see. And guess what? If that's the case, then Daniel was one of those prophets he dealt with since the world began, which was during the time of Adam. All right. Actually, let's go ahead and go into it. Let's deal with that. You have people out here that tell you that, oh, regeneration, that's not talking about guys. No, then break this scripture down. You show me a better breakdown of this scripture right here. So watch this. Luke 1 and 68. Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people, which is Israel. Verse 69. And he hath raised up a horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David. Speaking of YAHAWASH, he's the power that represents that horn of salvation, right? Verse 70. As he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, right? And the cool thing is, Daniel speaks of YAHAWASH in this very chapter that I'm reading right now. So, and this is all through the Spirit that I'm going through this, right? As he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began. Which have been since the world began. So when it says which have been since the world began, that means that the Lord has always dealt with his prophets and always gave them the secrets. And he's revealed his secrets, his servants, the prophets, as written Amos 3 and 7, which is cross-referenced with Luke 168 all the way to 171. All right, or at least 170. First chapter 70th verse. Okay. So let's continue on in this verse. Okay. So and Daniel answered him. So verse 22, he revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the dark, and the light dwelleth with him. So with these prophecies, he's dealing with the prophets that can reveal these prophecies. And those same men of those prophets are old back in this time now. Okay, like the scriptures have told us in times past. Verse 23. I thank thee and praise thee, O thou God of my fathers, who has given me wisdom and might, and has made known unto me now what we desire of thee, for thou hast now made known unto us the king's matter. Therefore Daniel went in unto Arioch, whom the king had ordained to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went and said thus unto him, destroy not the wise men of Babylon. So, and this is the beautiful thing about the prophets. So, of course, the prophets are rough. Of course, the prophets come in a very powerful spirit, but also too, even during this time, right? And shalom to everybody that comes in. Even with this, right? It says, destroy not the wise men of Babylon. He was able for himself to come and actually show mercy, okay, to the other nations. All right. It's just this is a what you call an example of that. So it says, bring me in before the king, and I will show unto the king the interpretation. Then Arioch brought in Daniel before the king in haste, and said thus unto him, I have found a man of the captives of Judah that will make known unto the king interpretation. The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belshazzar, art thou able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen and the interpretation thereof? All right, as the king asked. It says, Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, the secret which the king had demanded cannot the wise men, the astrologers and magicians and the soothsayers show unto the king. But there is a God in heaven, which is Yahawah, all right, the God of Israel, Yahawah. He exists. But there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days, right? Thy dream and the visions of thy head upon thy bed are these. As for thee, O king, thy thoughts came into thy mind upon thy bed. What should come to pass hereafter? And he revealeth secrets, he that revealeth secrets, maketh known to thee what shall come to pass. So he's speaking of that these interpretations are things that are going to come to pass in the very near future, right? Verse 30, but as for me, the secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living, but for their sake that shall make known the interpretation of the king, and that thou mightest know the thoughts of thy heart. All right. Thou, O king, sawest and behold a great image. This great image whose brightness. So this is the interpretation, the breakdown of this interpretation. So we have to read, the thing about it is, in the point, the reason why I'm going to the original, going to the very first verse and going all the way down is to cover the whole chapter to get the full understanding in the context of this, right? And to show you the full totality of that chapter. Right? Because I can always go skip down to verse, 30, 29, 28, and then go from there. But we got to cover the whole basis of that chapter. All right. And the point of covering the base of the chapter is to get the full understanding, the totality of the understanding. Verse 31, thou, O king, sawest and behold a great image. This great image whose brightness was excellent and stood before thee. And the form thereof was terrible. This image head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass. All right. So it's explaining the image of this statue or this great image that he saw. Right. He said the form was terrible because what popped out of what popped out of it, something great, very, very great, very powerful, very terrible came out of this image, right? Which is this image right here. All right. As you see, whichever one you think looks the best. Guess this could be a good one. Right. So he said, let's go back. Click out of this. It says this image head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver. Right. So it says fine head of gold. Right. His breast and his arms of silver. Right. So that's his abdomen, his midsection, his body, and his arms, and his mixed section, and his chest, right? The head is the gold, right? And it says, and his belly and his thighs of brass, right? So it said his belly and his, my bad. And it says in his belly and his thighs of brass, right? So this is right here from the waistline all the way down to the thighs, right? So it says his legs of iron, right? You see that legs is in the metal form of iron, right? His feet part of iron and clay. So it says his feet is part of iron and clay, and you see the mixture right there of iron and clay. Okay. So let's continue. Verse 34, thou sawest till that a stone was cut out with hands, which smote the image upon the feet that were of iron and clay, and break them into pieces. So it's telling you that there was a stone that broke the feet of the iron and clay into pieces, right? Verse 35, then was the iron, the clay, the brass, and the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth. All right. So it said that stone that smote the image became a great mountain, right? And that's metaphoric, and filled with the whole earth. Okay. So let's continue on. It's going to go into the breakdown of this dream. Verse 36, this is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. All right, this is Daniel. Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the God of heaven have given thee kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And whosoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the fields and the fowls of the heaven have given into thy hand, and has made thee ruler of all. Thou art this head of gold. So what he was telling him right here is that the head of gold is in fact the Babylonian Empire. All right, as you can see, this right here, that they're the Babylonian Empire. Okay, this is the Babylonian Empire. So let's continue. Let's go ahead and continue. Oop, my bad. Oh yeah, Shalom, foundation of righteousness, Shalom, brother. And whosoever the children of men dwell, so he basically had the whole dominion in the earth at that time, dealing with Babylon. All right. Now, verse 2 chapter 2, verse 39. Right. Shalom, Leah Israel. And after all thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. Okay. So it says, when it says, and after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, another third kingdom of brass, which shall rule over all the earth, right? So when it says that after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, right? Is that next kingdom that is talking about right here is this kingdom right here. Where is it at? The Medo-Persian Empire. It's what's the bet? Yeah, the Medo-Persian Empire. All right, because they were a joint rulership, the Medo-Persians, and then eventually over time, and most people in this, like me, they don't talk about this, but the Persians ended up conquering the Medes later on, and it just became the Persian Empire. Okay. But the Medes and the Persians did rule for a time in the season, but the Persians overtook the Medes, man. Okay. So it says, in another third kingdom of brass, in that third kingdom of brass that it's talking about, as I read on, which shall bear rule over all the earth, is the Greek Empire, as we know of it according to the modern understanding of history, which would be the Caucasians' first rulership in the earth. All right, and actually we can go to that. which was really, they weren't the original Greeks, but we call them Greeks because they ended up taking over Greece, and they extol and exalt Greece as a great kingdom under their Caucasian rulership. Okay, let's go ahead and go to that. Let's go ahead and go to First Maccabee. All right. First Maccabee chapter 1. And it says, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece, and many wars, and won many strong and made many wars and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth. Right, so it basically slew the kings all throughout the earth. Right, conquering all the known lands of what we know today as America, as we know as Africa, Europe, and Asia. All right, those three continents that we know today. All right, verse 3, and it says, and went through to the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exiled and his heart was lifted up. Speaking of Alexander, right? And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. And after these things, he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Right? He died because of his debauchery that ended up catching up with him. Verse 6. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. I think he throw up his ring and he said to the greatest or something like that. I don't know. I had to go look through that aspect of history. All right, during that time, but these were the four kings. Ptolemy Soter, I think the fourth or something like that. Alexandria. Trying to think, who was the other guy? Antiochus, and there was a fourth king that I forget. I had to go back and look through it, and I actually go more in depth into it in Daniel's the 7th chapter. All right, but this is what happened. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule one in his place. Right, so there's 4 generals, and after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves and did so their sons after then. And many years and evils were multiplied in the earth. All right, because the kingdom of Greece ruled over all civilization at the time. So we know that this has to be the Greco-Roman Empire, even going to the point of the Medes and the Persians, which the Persians were at this point overtook all the other nations because they were a superpower on the earth. It was not that they would be unstoppable at one point. And the Lord allowed Greece to, the Macedonians to conquer Greece, take over Persia, all right, and become great rulers at one particular time in history to also fulfill his word and prophecy. Okay. So verse 40, and the fourth king shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdue all things, and as iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise. Right? So this is the fourth kingdom. This fourth kingdom, right, is made of in like the previous ones. You see, and I want to make this point too. Babylon was the head of gold. Silver, all right, was the body of was the arms and the torso, dealing with the Medes and Persians. Greece, okay, what is dealing with what? Is dealing with brass, or brass with the belt line all the way to the thighs is brass, which is the Greek Empire. Okay, this fourth beast, and I'm gonna read this again. In the fourth kingdom, or kingdom, I should say, because all these are this whole statue was metaphorically broken down as kingdoms. All right, and when you deal with the fact of the different metal alloys, gold, silver, brass, and iron, it represents a decaying of each rulership. That's why I said that that the Medo-Persian Empire, even though it was a greater empire in terms of army might, the morality and the quality of that kingdom went down. All right, each morality got worse, and each quality and morality of each kingdom got worse, and that's also another symbolic way of showing through the gold is better than silver. Silver is better than brass. Brass is better than iron. Okay, so just give you an understanding on that. But this fourth kingdom, Daniel's 2:40, excuse me. In the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise. In which kingdom is this talking about right here? It's talking about the Roman Empire. Why? Because the Roman Empire of the ancient world was the most dominant military that the world has ever seen at that time, up to that time period. And really, when they ended, that was when ancient history ended, and we entered into what we call the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages, the medieval time, whichever you want to say. But they were the standard in terms of military might, and they were even worse and more cruel and more powerful and even more wicked than the previous empire that were the Greeks, even though they were all Edomites. The Roman Edomites, the Edomites of Rome, were even more wickeder and even more against the Most High than the other kingdoms. And also too, the iron represents the fact that they had great military might. All right. So continuing on, verse 41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay, and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron. For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with the myriad clay. So now it's not really a fifth kingdom, because the feet and toes are connected, the feet and toes are connected to the legs, right? It's your lower body, right? So let's deal with this. Let me read this again. Daniel's 4:1, Daniel's 2:41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of iron. For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with clay, right? So this is the iron that's mixed with clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron, part of the clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. All right. Verse 43. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with myriad clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So what is this speaking on? What kingdom is this speaking on right here? This is speaking on this kingdom. Actually, I think I had a better version of this, or a better let's see. It was a better version of this that was showing everything, actually. Let me show. Okay, then just use this one right here. So it's a divided kingdom right here. Okay. And that divided kingdom is the European Union, NATO, and America, which is what the regenerated, revived Roman Empire of today. Because everything about America represents Rome. Rome is America. America is Rome. Okay. And this is all the way up to the time of this time period that we're living in right now. All right. Because Rome fell, but the rebirth of Rome came spiritually during the Renaissance era, but officially reestablished by the time when America was started, because every aspect of Rome was incubated during the Renaissance, which was the rebirth, and really the rebirth of the Edomite rulership coming back into power and being brought into all the way up to the time of America. All right. All because the prophecies needed to be fulfilled. Excuse me. So verse 41, I'm going to read this again. And whereas thou sawest the feet and the toes, part of clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it the strength of iron. Yeah, it's going to have strength of iron because this is what we know as a dominant country, a powerful country. But even as the times that we're seeing now, that power is waning in this country is losing its muster and power. Why? Because it's mixed with clay. Okay. As I read on, part of the potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in of it the strength of iron, for as so much as thou sawest the iron mixed with mirror. And as the toes were part of the iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And we're seeing this now, how? Through the dividing of this nation in and of itself, the dividing of America, the dividing of what you know as the European Union, the dividing of NATO. Okay. Because in the ancient time, it represents Western and Eastern Rome, right? Guess what? NATO and the EU, all right, in America, are these is this broken toe, or is this iron and clay, right? That's going to be broken. Excuse me, okay. In America, being the poster boy of what we know as this final kingdom, this revised Roman Empire, right? So when it says it shall be partly iron and partly clay, let's go ahead and go to Matthew. Let's go ahead and go to Matthew. Matthew chapter 12 and verse 25. Okay. And this is just, goes right with the point. Let's go right ahead and go here. It says, Matthew 12 and 25, and YAHAWASH knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. Right? And also, too, when it talks about this kingdom, right, I want to make another point, because it said that they mingle. Verse 43, and whereas thou sawest iron mixed with mirror clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay, right? This kingdom that's ruled by the Edomites, they have gathered multiple nations, just like they did during the time of Rome, during the time of Greece, but especially Rome. They gathered a lot of nations. And what did they do? They had them all mingle with one another. All right. And that's one of the reasons why this place is divided. And we see that all throughout, of course, the new media news and whatnot is contrived, but we know that there's a certain level of division in this country. All right. That's also permeating throughout the world because America is a great influencer. But we see these things take place and take fold right now, unfold as we speak right now. All right. Because these things are being divided. These houses are being divided. This nation is being divided. Okay. Because you were not supposed to mix people amongst each other like this. All right. But YAHAWASH basically stated that every kingdom that is divided against itself shall not stand. Verse 26, if Satan cast out Satan, right? And you have in America, Edomites in different legislations and different judicial branches are against one another. All right. You have Edomites on a lower level against one another. And you have different nations in, like it says, mixed with the seed of men. And people are all against each other, right? They have their own sector of people or tribes of people that they deal with, right? And it says, if Satan cast out Satan, which is Esau today in this country and with NATO and EU, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? And this kingdom's not standing right now. Satan is casting out Satan. Esau's the epitome of Satan, dealing with the Caucasian male. All right. He is divided against himself right now. And his kingdom is fallen as we speak currently right now. Okay. And we're seeing this prophecy unfold right now of the 10 toes, all right, of the myriad in the myriad clay and the iron. Okay. So verse 44, and in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a king which shall never be destroyed, a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all the kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Right? And whose kingdom is that? Well, let's go ahead. I'm trying to think, should I go there first? Let's go ahead and go to Luke. Actually, let me open up one more tab. Let's go ahead and, wrong tab. Let's go ahead and open up another tab. Hit this point. Let's go ahead. Yeah, Matthew 12 and 25. Let's hit this point right here. Let's go right here. Let's go to Luke 21. Might be 20. Let me check. Okay, Luke 21 and Luke 21 and 20. Let's go ahead and go here first. Luke 21 and 20. Okay, and it reads, Luke 21 and 20. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. And that's one prophecy that Daniel made, abomination, desolation. Then let them which are of Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries into therein too. For these be the days of vengeance which shall be, which are written may be fulfilled, which is speaking of what? It's speaking of Jerusalem during the time of the siege of 70 AD. Verse 23. But woe unto them which are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in that land, and wrath on this people. Speaking of Israel. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be of the Gentiles unto the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Right? The reason why I'm reading this, because it says, and in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Right? Now, just to clarify which kingdom this is, let's go to Acts, the second chapter, I believe. Oh no, Acts 1 and 6. Go there. Okay. Acts 1 and 5. For John truly baptized with water, but ye shall be baptized with the Holy Ghost not many days hence. When they therefore come together, they asked of him, saying, Lord, wilt thou at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel? Right? So the apostles are asking YAHAWASH, when is the kingdom of Israel going to be reestablished back in the earth as the governing body of the earth? Verse 7, he said unto them, and YAHAWASH is not rebutting and saying, oh, the kingdom of Israel, the kingdom of all men. No, we're talking about Israel, because that's who he came for. He said unto them, it is not for you to know the times or the season which the Father hath put in his own power, but ye shall receive power after the Holy Ghost is come upon you. You shall be witnesses unto me both in Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria and unto the uttermost parts of the earth. Okay, so it's gonna come in a time that we're not expecting, and we're fastly approaching that time. Okay, so verse 45: For as much as thou that sawest the stone, let me read that again. Daniel chapter 2, verse 45. For as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it break in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter. In the dream is certain, in the interpretation thereof sure. In which stone is this? It's the kingdom of Israel, but who is the head stone that's breaking into pieces these Gentile nations right now, spiritually, and when he comes back physically with angelic power, who the world knows as Jesus Christ, who we know in the Hebrew, his name is YAHAWASH. And to further prove that, let's go ahead and go to Ephesians 2. Let's go ahead and go to Ephesians 2. Go ahead and go to Ephesians 2. Okay, because these things, look, the Most High, you know, the Lord is bringing forth the word, bringing out this word in its truest form in today's time, man. And there's nothing that these heathens can do to stop it. And there's nothing that these wicked Israelites who are sold out to the Jesuit order, sold out to the Rosicrucians, the Masons, all right, the Council of Nine, whoever the hell you want to call it or name it, there ain't nothing they can do either, man. They can just read them and reap. All right. And that's what we're doing right now. Ephesians 2 and 20. All right. So Ephesians 2 and 20. I'm going to start at verse 19. Actually, let's start at verse 18. I like to get the full meat and full context of the scripture. Ephesians 2 and 18. For through him we both have access by one Spirit unto the Father. Now, therefore, ye are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and of the household of God, and are built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets, YAHAWASH HaMashiach himself bring the chief cornerstone, in whom all the building fitly framed together groweth unto an holy temple in the Lord, in whom ye also are built together for an habitation of God through the Spirit. All right. And Shalom, princess. All right. And with that being said, who is it speaking of? YAHAWASH being the head ruler of Israel and having the kingdom of Israel being established in the earth. Okay. And he's that cornerstone. He's that stone that's going to break into pieces these nations, man. He's the stone, the lead stone, which is the head of Israel, man. Okay. So that's the stone that it was talking about in the previous verse when it was the metaphoric breakdown, and this is the full breakdown that Daniel was speaking of. Okay, so all these Gentile nations, all right, to conclude with this, right, as I read on, all right, the gold being the Babylonian Empire, the silver being the Medo-Persian Empire, the brass being the Grecian Empire, Rome being iron, and the iron being the Roman Empire, and then the toes, the 10 toes, all right, the feet and 10 toes are the iron clay, which is the divided kingdom of NATO and EU, which aforetime was Western Rome and Eastern Rome, right? But also, too, speaking of today's time, NATO, EU, and America, which were all combined, and in America in and of itself being the extension of the Roman Empire, which that's the iron and clay is the extension, but it's mixed with clay, mixed with different people and different philosophies, all right, and it's set up to be destroyed, all right. The final totality of the Roman Empire coming down is very soon in today's time now. Okay, to have that understanding, and that cornerstone is Israel, and the head in that stone that destroys the statue is Israel, but the cornerstone of that stone is who? YAHAWASH HaMashiach. He is the head that takes down these nations, man. All right, and you can go to Isaiah the 63rd chapter, Revelations the 19th chapter to read up on that. Okay, so let's finish off this chapter. Daniel 2:46. Then the king Nebuchadnezzar fell upon his face and worshipped Daniel, and commanded that they should offer an oblation in sweet odors unto him. And when you think about that, that's also symbolic. That's also symbolic of the fact that these nations are going to come down and bow down and worship us, man. Okay, and reverence us. Verse 47, the king answered unto Daniel and said, of a truth it is that your God is a God of gods, and the Lord of kings, and the revealer of secrets, seeing thou couldst reveal this secret. Then the king made Daniel a great man and gave him many great gifts, and made him ruler of the whole province of Babylon, and the chief governors over all the wise men of Babylon. And Daniel requested the king, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon, but Daniel sat in the gate of the king. Okay, so let me go ahead and stop the screen share. All right. Yeah, shalom and much love to everybody that's came in. That's the breakdown of the book of Daniel. Okay, the second chapter. And I will be back with I'm gonna probably do it week by week. Daniel's 2, Daniel 7, because I got other breakdowns I'm trying to get through. And I'll be more consistent in putting out more videos on this channel, more lessons. I got a whole slew of lessons to do. Lord willing, I can get through all of these before year's end. That's the goal, to get through all the lessons I have on slate by year's end. Also, too, I'm going to do the breakdown of the tribe of Benjamin, and I'm going to because I have an old breakdown, but I have to revamp and put more new things into that breakdown, so I leave nothing on the table, all right, or leave anything up for discussion of who the tribe of Benjamin is. Okay, so with that being said, much love to you, brothers and sisters that are in this truth, all right, and you sincere priests, prophets, and elders that are sincerely teaching the word of the Most High through YAHAWASH and doing the most you can. All right. Shalom, Ikron. I see you, brother. So Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Lord willing, this breakdown is more clarified if you don't know about it. I will be breaking down Daniel's 7th chapter next week. Like I said, I'm gonna try to get through the Daniel books, the prophetic books of Daniel, or the prophetic chapters of Daniel, as time goes on. Daniel 2 is completed today. Daniel 7's next week. Daniel 8th will be a week after that. And then Daniel 9. I'm going to Daniel's 9. Daniel 10. All right. And then Daniel's 11. All right. Got to go through all those books because, I think not many people go into Daniel's 10. Not many people go into Daniel's 11. Not people going to Daniel's 9th chapter either. All right. Yeah, it's Daniel's 2, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So be on the lookout for that. And I think it's easier just to do one week by week. And tomorrow night, I'm going to go into the fivefold ministry. All right. That's what I'm going to go into. That's going to be the breakdown that needs to be brought out. So with that being said, hey, Shalom again. I might come out to Seattle. All praises, just let me know when you come out here, man. We can break bread and chop it up. I don't hang out with too many people. I don't really deal with too many people. I just, go to work, do my boxing, do my MMA thing, and, teach this word, and that's it. I might go out here and there to one of my favorite spots, and that's it. This is my life right here. It's teaching you, brothers and sisters, this word. All right. But with that said, I want to say HALAL, YAHAWAH, BaHaSham, YAHAWASH. Much love to you, brothers and sisters in the truth, and the priest, prophet, elders, sincerely in this truth. All right. Much love. And I say shalom. And shalom to you. Shalom to Nisi. All right. So, yeah. But with that said, man, much love. Shalom. Peace.